Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Today is a very big day. I am joined here with John De Lancie, who is Q. John, welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pretty big day for us. We've been involved in the project. Their team, everyone past and present. Star Trek Timelines turning 10 years old. It is quite amazing. I know we just talked pre-stream that it was just like your trip to the old Disruptor Beam office, the original team, and you can't believe it's been 10 years.
Absolutely. When you guys got in touch with me and you said 10 years, I had to actually look it up. I went, gosh, it's and that first time, I had been invited. I was invited to come to the Disruptor office. So I flew into Boston, and it was a surprise, that I would be there. And it was about 3 days that I'll never forget. It was really wonderful. I have never been in a corporate setting other than being the Xerox operator in San Francisco at Bechtel for 3 months. And it was so creative. It was so much fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I know that I don't know if everyone knows, but you worked very closely with our narrative lead at the time, Jessica, all those years ago on the story of Star Trek Timelines. And did you anticipate this game kind of lasting this long, going 10 years? Was there something that you noticed within the team that you're like, wow, these guys are the real deal?
Well, first of all, I noticed that people were really serious and really committed
Yeah.
and really wanted to do a good job. And Jessica Slowinski um, was was really talented. I mean, and then she has something else that's that's that you have to have. She is exceedingly prolific. I mean, it just those fingers start flying on that typewriter and on their computer, and the stories just come out, and they just come out and just come out. And I've kept up with her. I've stayed in touch with her, and Hank Howie, who actually, I was in London, and I was having dinner with Bob Picardo, and all of a sudden a bottle arrived at our table, and I was and Hank waved, and I went over to thank him, and little did I know it was going to be the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, working on that initial narrative uh, with Jessica, was it a collaborative thing, going back and forth? Would she send you stuff? Would you kind of toss some ideas back and forth? Like, how was that? Um,
Yes, we would toss ideas back and forth. I mean, I'm dealing, she was very kind to ask me and include me and stuff like that.
mhm.
I don't know if she really needed to. She had things under control pretty well. I was sort of at the 30,000 foot level,
Yep,
and she was down in the trenches. So that's how that relationship worked, and it worked that way for a long time, actually.
mm,
A long time. These are the stories I'm thinking of. This is the direction that we're thinking. What do you think? I go, oh wow, well, and I'm sort of good at long range and at putting stuff, connecting stuff together, and also keeping the Q point of view clear. And I think that uh, she appreciated that and also encouraged that.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. Awesome. So we have some player questions here that I'd like to get into. I'm looking through the live chat as well. I assume this was pre-recorded. No, this is live. This is absolutely live. So, really lucky that we could sync our schedules together to get this going here. But yeah, let's get into it. Some player questions. This one is from Same J. Out of all the scenes that you've done, John, in the Trek universe, which scene was your favorite and why?
Well, we're going back so many years now. The scene, um, that final scene in Picard where I say goodbye to um, to Picard
Mm-hmm.
um, had a lot attached to it. I'm also working right now on creating a musical connection between tapestry, between music and tapestry,
Yeah.
which I'm happy to talk about. I'm not going to explain it all that much right this second, but the things about Star Trek to me that are the most important. Um, it was always entertainment, but when it dipped into the philosophical, when it dipped into heavier subjects, I thought that that's when it was at its best.
Yeah.
So, um, so those that's what that's how I would answer that.
Right. Now, a good kind of segue into that. Now that we're post Picard, post the Picard series, is there anything in the character of Q that you feel still has been left unexplored?
Oh well, I mean, sure. When you think about it, I only did I don't know, a dozen episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure what the number is. So, as opposed to the other regulars who might have done, I don't know, 150 episodes. So, and because I was, they didn't have to write for me because I was not under contract. I never really thought about what next facet I wish they would give me because there wasn't. What's the point? I mean, it's what was the point? I just tried to mine the facets that I had in such a way as to make the character more three-dimensional than
Right.
it might have originally been.
Yeah, I never actually thought about that. The amount of episodes you've been in, but Q has such left such a mark in the Star Trek universe. It's quite amazing. Um, and what was your first impression working with Patrick Stewart, and how has that evolved over the many years now?
Well, my first impression of working with Patrick, he had been hired and I had been hired. He had been hired first, and then I had been hired. Uh, and Corey Allen started, getting us into rehearsal mode. So we rehearsed the show. We rehearsed those scenes
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of times. I am still in the house in which Patrick came over, and on my patio, the Corey Allen, Patrick, and I went through the lines. And there was a point to which I ended up saying, I feel like we've had enough rehearsal. This is not Shakespeare, and the more you press on it, the likelihood of the fabric tearing is pretty high. So, and then I went. Then they started shooting, and I went to Japan to do another show. And when I came back, I got back whatever it was, late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it was when I arrived. And then on Monday morning, I'm in the judge's outfit, and we're doing that. So it was all a little bit of a whirlwind.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Um, the Can you comment about any of Q's roles being currently discussed or any future projects? I don't know if there's anything to share there, um, or not, or any ongoing new series or anything like that.
Um, no, it isn't that I don't want to comment. I haven't. I would be the last to know. I would be the last to know. And, there comes a point to where, uh, one is long enough in the tooth that you kind of go, gee, maybe it's time to pass this on. So, but I would be the last to know, and I'm not being coy,
Yeah.
um, you know, so.
We have another question here from John. Who would John pick to replace him as the next Q? Speaking of which, and why?
Uh, when I was watching all of the uh, Borat movies, I thought he would be perfect. He would be perfect. Sacha Baron Cohen, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh my
He
God.
would be perfect. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's too far. I've never made that connection, but I can't
yeah.
unsee it now. That.
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, you need to have someone where you feel that they're not controllable.
Mm,
You're just like, oh my God. I mean, the amount of people who have come up to me over the years and said, you really annoyed me when I first met when you first came on, and I would say, why is that? And they said, well, I don't know. I always had this uneasy sense that something bad was going to happen with you. I said, okay,
that's too funny.
yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like I know that oh, what's his name? Kind of that kind of not overacting, but like Jim Carrey, I think would be kind of something interesting, like a different twist too. But I know he's not. A lot of his acting is not super serious. It's more uh, animation style of movements filling and things like that too.
Yeah,
Um,
but the thing is this, is that I think Jim Carrey might, no, I mean, uh, it needs, my estimation, in my humble estimation, it needs somebody who toggles back and forth very
yes.
quickly.
Yeah.
Just always toggling back and forth.
Right.
So that in the end, you actually are not quite sure.
Not quite sure who you're gonna get.
Yeah.
um, so, how does your preparation differ for voiceover roles than in-person roles? And what is your preference for one kind of work or the other? And has that changed over your career and how your career's evolved?
Well, I mean, the classic thing is that most actors will say that they enjoy voiceovers because they don't have to get dressed. They don't, like roll out of bed and whatever. They don't have to do their hair or
Right.
whatever. And they don't have to learn the lines.
Mm,
That's a big one.
right.
Um, um, I make the distinction between myself and other and voiceover actors. I've not. I've done a fair amount of voiceover, but I'm sort of generally the same.
Hmm.
Whereas, in my voice, I'm told is distinctive. Whereas the true voiceover actor has a whole bag of voices that they cultivate,
Yes.
and I had the occasion once of having dinner. I don't know where I was, but I had dinner with six voiceover actors. It was exhausting. It was exhausting because after the first drink, they started pulling out their voices,
Right.
and then they're upping each other, oh my God, it was exhausting. It was very funny, but
Right.
exhausting. Yeah,
Yeah, that seems like a very nice party trick, right? Just being to pull out these voices and have conversations within these different characters, and yeah, that's a riot.
right.
Um, so we've released Star Trek Timelines. We've released a lot of versions of you, a lot of versions of Q. I don't know if you've seen all of them, but we have a question here from Captain Papa that asks, out of all the characters that have been released, cues that have been released in Star Trek Timelines, is there one that is really interesting to you, or the art was interesting to you, or is there a version of yourself from the show that you would like to see in the game?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm not clear enough as to what the delineations are.
Hmm.
I do know, um, having worked, I'm now beginning to work um, closely, examine tapestry and what have you.
Hmm.
Um, this sort of cue as a as as the teacher, not so much a cue as the facilitator.
Hmm.
Um, but when I go and do voiceovers for you guys,
Hmm.
I don't often know how they're going to be used and what have you, and where they're going to be going.
Yep.
So I can't really answer that
Yeah.
question.
No, that's right. That's probably some feedback that we can we can work on too for future voice stuff.
Yes,
Um,
that would be, yes, absolutely right.
but I know that we've released a lot of different versions of you in your judge outfit too. Well, we've done a lot of others, and there's a lot of good ones coming as well that we're excited about. But we have a funny little question here, more of a statement. Did you know, John, that you are fantastic? And that was from Rainlight. But is there any ongoing work? I know you've kind of talked about it just a little bit. Is there any ongoing work that you're involved with that you want to talk about or share with us and or our players?
Well, uh, what I'm working on right now is material for the cruise, for the Star Trek
Oh
cruise.
yes.
Every year we do the cruise. I've been fortunate to be on every one of those cruises, and after the first year, I began to see this as an opportunity to create something that might have legs somewhere else. So, so rather than just present Star Trek material and things like that, the cruise is a wonderful, wonderful immersion. 6 or 7 day immersion. But so, as far as I was concerned, there's room for something else.
Hmm.
So, I think the second year I did. A show that I and Ed Asner had done, which was about the Scopes Monkey trial. Then I did a show that I had co-written, which was about the Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World.
Mm.
Then I wrote a show which also went out and has gone out around the country in theaters. That show went out. Then I did another show which I co-wrote with a woman named Kristen Traeger, who happens happened to have been on the cruise, and she came up to me and she said, "I'm a PhD dramaturg and postdoctorate, and if you need any help writing this next show," and so we wrote it together, and it was about the Dover Intelligent Design Trial, and that's been done in the last 2 years in, I think, about 7 or 8 different cities. Uh, and then I brought the Curtis Institute of Music. I grew up in Philadelphia. My father was with the Philadelphia Orchestra. He taught at Curtis. Curtis is an extremely unusual. It's probably um, the most difficult school to get into in the United
Oh
States.
wow.
There are only 160 kids who go to it.
Wow.
The faculty ratio is 1 to 1. People from all over the world go, and if you get in, it's free. And so I was on. I was doing a tour of the country, an 8 city tour of the United States, with Stravinsky's the Soldier's Tale, and a gentleman came up to me right before starting the first, our first show, which was in Phoenix, and he said, "I'm a big Star Trek fan, and I wrote." For the first half of the program, I wrote a piece called Darmok and Jalad. And I had no idea what he was talking about. Because in good Q fashion, I really only know my stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. And I went out and I listened to it and I went, wow, this is really great. So I asked him if he would write some more and he said yes. And, long story, very short, but the crews, to their credit, brought the musicians on board. And so we're doing that. That was 2 years ago, and we're doing that again. And then the whole notion of that is to create symphonic music, music for symphony orchestras, so that you're not just hearing, Goldsmith and Horner and what have you, which are great, but you're hearing new music which has been inspired by Star Trek. So, and this time I'm I'm concentrating for the last month or so on Tapestry. I think Tapestry is where we're going to.
Tapestry.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Um, do other Star Trek actors know about this game? And if so, to what extent? Have you had any conversations with any other actors around Star Trek?
I don't know if they know about the game. I really don't know. I mean uh, you know, it's funny. Actors, when early on, you want everybody to know what you're doing, and later on, um, we hardly ever talk business with each other anymore.
Yeah.
We just don't. Because in the beginning, when we talked about it, it was to affirm the fact that we were working, which is a big deal in our profession, given that 95% of us don't work at any one time. But as time has gone on, we don't. I don't know what people are doing,
Yep.
and we don't share those things.
Gotcha. Have you ever had a cue gag or joke the producers wrote in that you've just thought, oh, this is silly, or this is not like the character? Have you had any instances like that?
No, there were no cue gags or jokes. I think that they sort of expected me to do kind of an undercut,
Mm.
so that things were just a little undercut,
Yep.
but not. There were no real gags. I mean, listen. There's the gag of me falling onto the bridge without any clothes on, um, which, thank you very much. We won't be doing that again. But other than that, no.
Gotcha. If we have a question here from Dashi, if you could restart Alien Voices, which was I think it was the audio novel that you were in with, and have an in-character chat with anyone, who would it be, and why?
Well, when I pitched Alien Voices to Leonard, one of the things in which I said is that I want these adaptations to be recognizable the um, by the author. And I know that sounds, that might sound like, well, yes, of course, but one of my first books, I was a late reader. I always had reading problems. I was a late reader. And my first book that I remember reading, that I did read, was Jules Verne's Mysterious Island. And I loved that book. I loved the fact that I got from the beginning to the end. Uh, I loved the characters. They knew so much, and they were so positive, and they took things into their own hands. They
Mhm.
weren't, they might have been marooned on an island, but they weren't going, oh, why has this happened to me?
Right.
And they were very proactive. Um, and so I read that, and then lo and behold, a movie came out of Mysterious Island. And I went there. I used to go to the matinees all the time. I'd walk from where my house was into the little town in Ardmore, Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
and there was the movie theater there. And I used to go to things. And here it was going to be Mysterious Island. Oh my God, this is fantastic! And I got there, and the first thing, there's the balloon and I go, oh yes, exactly right, and everything else. And then they land on the island, and what? Dinosaurs? Dinosaurs? There were no dinosaurs on the island fighting with each other. And then the next thing you know is two very blousy women show up on a raft. And I was compelled to jump out of my seat. And I went, this is not the story.
Right.
This is not the story. And I was collared and thrown out. And so when I said to Leonard, I want to do these, but and obviously they have to be adapted, and
Mhm.
obviously there are going to be all sorts of choices that are made, and some storylines have to be dropped and stuff like that. But I want at least the author to recognize the story and not be like Jules Verne, who, as far as I was concerned, was sitting next to me going, "This is not the story." So who would I want to meet? I mean, I would have loved to. I mean, not that this could ever happen, but
Mhm.
when we did Lost World, it would have been great to talk to Arthur Conan Doyle or
Right.
or H.G. Wells or any of those people, and
Mhm.
say, now, what were you really? And that was what the research was. You know, um, Arthur Conan Doyle wrote Lost World after the Brits had gone in to Tasmania and essentially committed genocide in Tasmania by shooting I mean, I don't know, they shot all of them, but shooting a lot of the indigenous people there.
Wow.
And that prompted that story. H.G. Wells wrote The Time Machine, having grown up in the upstairs downstairs of life in England. The social thing is his parents were servants, and the subway system was coming, and workers were living underground, and he began wondering, well, would it be like if our society continued in this fashion and then ultimately bifurcated into the people who lived on above ground and the people who lived below ground.
Oh,
And of course the turn was is
right.
that, yeah. So
Wow. That's fascinating. Let's see. Our next question here from Joy. I love this question. Uh, I've always wanted to ask Mr. John De Lancie if he has any words of encouragement for students with dyslexia as a successful actor who has been very open about your struggles with it. If there's any thoughts on that.
sure. I flunked out of school, and I was taken out of another school for reasons that, I mean, when I was a little boy, for reasons that were presented to my parents as that I was slow, mildly retarded, and or lazy. Okay.
Yep.
I ended up at the school that in the fifth, sixth grade, I guess, that I ultimately graduated from, where the headmistress said, I'm not sure if those are the cases. It could be that he has what was at the time called specific dyslexia. Um, I don't think anybody knew quite what that meant. Certainly nobody who said anything to me
Right.
about what that meant.
Yep.
Other than I went, well, at least it's not like I'm slow, lazy, or mildly retarded.
Yep.
It, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know what there is now to help students. I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. I know what I did,
Yep.
and that is that I began reading out loud
Oh, okay.
by myself in my
Yep.
room. Also, the opening books that were just just block words on just paragraphs of words on either side was not helpful to me. So I ended up finding a book just by chance, which was the Golden Treasury of Poetry,
Mm-hmm.
and the poems were laid out on the page so that my eye could kind of uh, incorporate them. I could see I could see it. It was pleasing to my eye,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would use that. And then by the time I got to be whatever 15 or so, I had a girlfriend, and I would ask her if I could read out loud to her. In other words,
Mm-hmm.
I did the things that I felt were necessary, and but all of that doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
I have I'm doing a concert in Philadelphia in a week from now, where I have a narration, and I'm still going to go. Oh my gosh, am I? All the things that go into how your eyes are tracking and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff are still are there.
Is there a favorite version of Q that you played? Was it a particular garb or outfit that stuck with you, or certain makeup or anything like that? Was there one version that you really enjoyed?
Well, I mean the iconic version, which is in the Inquisitor's robes.
Yep.
That's you. You don't have to play anything at that point.
Right.
The clothes, the clothes are handling it all for you.
Right. Um, your Did you enjoy working on some of your other previous video games? The Star Trek Borg, um, or even just noting on your experience on the show becoming a Borg, the makeup of it all.
I hand it I, I hand it to those actors who had to be aboard all day
Yep.
long. It was really uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable, and that eyepiece, my eye was just
Hmm.
tearing all the time. I would, uh, I see Armin and Johnny Phillips, and that these are guys who had to come in. I don't know, a couple of hours beforehand to get made up. Oh my God, I was so happy that I had none of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you expect the longevity of Q to last this long and through so many series?
No, I didn't. I mean, again, I was never under contract. I, 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 I did a show. I did it as well as I could,
Hmm.
and my expectation was to just move on.
Wow. Um, did Do you have any input into any of the costumes that Q would wear? Was there anything that you could kind of any input that you gave into those costumes that caused a change?
Well, the costume would come to. I mean, let's just use uh, the judges' robes.
Hmm.
When I was in in, when we were doing that, I I think that you kind of know it the minute it happens. You know, you. I, I think that we tried some other things, and then the costumer, whose name I forget now, um, said, "What about this?" And he was like, "Okay, wow, done."
Yeah.
A good costume person has done a great deal of thinking about this,
Right.
and so if you're dealing with really good costume people, that is uh, it's mostly about just it's tweaking, for the most part, and
Hmm.
everybody knows it. You put something on and you go and go, this doesn't work. No,
Right.
I could see here. Try this one, and then try this one, and it's a fun period of time. I mean, it's if no one has done that before, it's a fun period of time. If for no other reason is that it's not like going to a department store because you're not having to pay for any of this.
Right.
You know, you're not saying, "Oh, gee, I don't know if I can really afford an Armani suit." You're going, "Yeah, just keep bringing these Armanis."
Right.
I mean, yeah.
No, that's fun. Was there anything? I know it's not a super physical role as Q, but did you do anything on set that then you had to go back to the costume designer, said, "Hey, I need a little more flexibility here or there," or once it was set, it was pretty much set.
Well, I know in Picard, it was commented on that uh, uh, I said I think I might need a little more flexibility, um, but maybe maybe I should just keep my big mouth shut for a while, and I can lose some of that weight. I so we won't have to change anything. Why
Right.
don't we start with that?
That's too funny. Speaking of Picard, what was your reaction to coming back for the final teaser of Picard?
Oh, I I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I thought it was great.
yeah. Alrighty, so we're getting to the end of the questions here, but we have another one here from Nick Knack that says, "I've enjoyed reading about the journey of the Nempath a few years ago. Do you still travel the seas? And also the certain writers of Picard's they chose the names of Riker and Troy's planet to be Nempath because of the name of your ship. Is there any truth to that?"
Yeah, first of all, it's Nepenthe.
Nepenthe. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, and Nepenthe is a drug
Oh.
that Odysseus was given so as to take away
Oh.
sorrow after his 10 years of wandering. And then Edgar Allan Poe uses the the word Nepenthe, the idea of Nepenthe, in his poem "The Raven," where he says "quaff," meaning drink, "quaff, quaff this sweet Nepenthe." Um, and do I continue? I don't have that boat anymore. To not so much to my chagrin. I've moved to another boat,
Hmm.
which I have my sailing friends say, you have to name the boat. And I call it the condo because in comparison to what I had before was an old time sailing boat,
Yeah.
which means that there's no hot water. There's no, you if you needed to read, you used a flashlight, and so like I now am in a boat that's like a condo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a condo. So But yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I think I, I I did a short run down to Mexico. I don't know, a couple of months ago, and I think I'm going to do another one. So yeah, I keep there's some talk about sailing the South Pacific again, but I don't know. I think that window might be closing.
Yeah.
I might instead do Baja.
Oh, very nice. Was there anything that you took from your naval hobbies that you kind of pulled into your character as Q?
Uh, no, but there is going back to the creation of the character is that I was playing Raoul Amundsen, the the Arctic explorer,
Hmm.
the and the Antarctic explorer. Uh, and there was a there were characteristics uh, that Amundsen had, which I really embraced as a person and as an actor, and that was that expression. By the way, there's an expression in in exploring. And that expression is, "It's time to eat the dogs." Um, he got to the South Pole.
Yeah.
He did it on his own. Okay, the last run to the South Pole, he was within striking distance. He did it solo, and on the way back, he ate the dogs.
Oh, geez.
And this was in contrast to Scott, who was still in the romantic period,
Yeah.
and Amundsen was the was the advent of the professional. Uh, Scott was still in the glorious amateur period of exploration and
Hmm.
science and stuff like that. So I was playing that when I did Q. So there was a part of me that was already had understood that way of thinking. So um, I was a little harder and a little more stern, and yet underneath it all, I think I was trying to be helpful to Picard.
Yeah. Interesting. Um, Very cool. Very very cool. That's the last question we have, but I just have to do a little bit of keeping here, housekeeping. Star Trek Timelines again, 10th anniversary. Such a big accomplishment that everyone who's worked on the product, past and present, and of course the players. You know, it wouldn't be possible without you guys. So without everyone. So very 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 grateful. We have a lot of content going on this month in game to celebrate the 10th anniversary. We have all sorts of discounts and sales, new fleet boss battle that feature the Borg, a new client that we just released that we're really excited about. So there's a lot more coming. And you know, the team's worked really hard on getting this content out for you, and then all the effort from the past 10 years. It's quite an accomplishment, and I'm really proud of everyone involved. And I'm really very happy to be involved in the project in this long. Again, John, thank you very much for joining us and your involvement in Star Trek Timelines. And I might have to talk to Joe. We might have to get on to that Star Trek cruise so we can spend some time and chat. So I'll work on that.
Yeah, you do work on that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I congratulate you guys too. I mean, it's a lot of work, and to be this successful this far out is really wonderful. So bravo to everyone.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, John. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time, and maybe we'll see you on the cruise.
Okay, it's all
Bye
right.
bye.
Cheers.